Welcome to Make a Path Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today let's talk about The Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 13, Bury Me Here. Now, if you're new to the channel, well, hell, if you're a regular subscriber, you know that the video quality has changed a little bit. I'm testing out this webcam. I think I got it a little bit better than the video I posted before this. That was real bad. The quality was shot. I'm making some tweaks. I got something else going on with the microphone I'm trying to change up. Hopefully I'll get that all working in another day or two. I think the quality, it looks good right now, so I don't know how it will look in post. I'm doing this, one time, so if it's not that great, I'll redo it if it's unbearable, but if it's not that great, bear with me a little bit. Tomorrow's video will be even better. But with that out of the way, I just want to talk about how much I love this episode. Really love this episode. I think Scott Gimple actually wrote this episode, and it shows. I mean, he does get to, as showrunner, I believe he does get to kind of treat all the scripts. If there's some dialogue he wants to change or some scenes he wants to rearrange or make some subtle changes, I believe that's his job as a showrunner. But a lot of the scripts that he works on specifically, there's a lot of different things, a lot of subtle things that you just pull from it and absolutely love. I think he wrote some of my all-time favorite episodes, like way back in Season 3, Episode 12. I think it's Episode 12. It's called Clear. And it's funny, he wrote that and then he wrote this, so maybe it's Scott Gimple's job to write the more dynamic Morgan episodes. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. Let's back it up to one of my favorite lines in this episode, which was the girl saying that she's going to go before she pisses herself. I thought that was great. Now, the CG on the tiger, I know people are going to bring it up. It looked good in the first shot. The second shot when the tiger moved, it looked a little off, and then it looked good again. I'm not even going to nitpick with the tiger. I'm a practical guy. I like the puppets, even if the puppets look fake. I usually pick the puppets, but I didn't think the CGI was that big, that problematic in that scene to talk about it any more than just mentioning it. So here it is, I'm mentioning it. Let's go back to the writing and the complex characters, and I love this. I touched before on Gavin, that savior that's leading the group that deals with the kingdom people. I love the complexity there. He's not showing up like, oh, I'm a bad guy, brouhaha, that's it. I'm a bad guy just for the shits and giggles. You've seen that he gets pissed when he turns around and he finds out that Jared is a huge dick, and he also is not just like, oh, I'm this big bad guy, I'm one of the saviors, I'm a bad guy. You can see his actions, and you might not know a guy who shot a kid being a dick, but you know a guy who acts like that, and if this was the apocalypse, he would act like that, so he's not your one-dimensional bad guy either. This dude's a prick, a real piece of shit, and I can't wait till Morgan strangles Jared to death. You gotta give that kill to Morgan. You got to. But anyway, so Gavin looks real pissed when he finds out that Jared shot Ben, and then once he finds out that Ben died. Now, he's still a bad guy. He still has a job to do, and I know some fans are going to be like, oh, how's that, complex writing? How is that showing humanity, whatever, whoop-de-whoop? He's a bad guy, period. No, that's not the case, because if he was just a dry bad guy, one-dimensional bad guy, it would be like, oh, whoop-de-whoop, we shot a kid, big deal, whatever. Oh, the kid died, big deal, whatever. Fuck you, pay me. You know what I mean? No, that was a bad thing because Goodfellas, I wasn't making fun of Goodfellas. Forget about that, but I thought it was funny. Anyway, I love the complexity there in that character writing with Gavin really pissed off at Jared, but I also love the complexity in Richard's character. They wrote Richard so well, and I love how it tied into a previous episode. We'll get to that in a second, but they wrote Richard so well to where he does something and you're like, man, you're a bitch. He does something else and you're like, all right, I see where he's coming from. He does something again and you're like, man, you, Richard, you, and then he does something again and you're like, all right, I see where he's coming from. And they really truly wrote him well, and him dying in this episode was a complete surprise to me. I was shocked. I didn't see any spoilers. I didn't see any comments. Nobody if people did put comments, I'm sure people did, but I've been off the internet for like a week dealing with a whole bunch of different things, some behind the scenes stuff with the channel. So if that leaked a few days ago, I didn't read it, and I was surprised. And I was even more surprised, and I enjoyed it more that it was at the hands of Morgan. But my point with the complex characters, with the character writing, is the fact that Richard had this plan set up. For those who missed it, Richard came out, we saw that Carol killed a walker, and the walker had a gash on the shoulder. When she came back out, he had a gash on his head, and the walker was dead. Well, then we see Richard with a shovel. So he takes the shovel, kills that walker. He goes and digs up his grave with a sign that says, "Bury me." He hides his daughter's book bag under the dirt. Now, I'm assuming that was going to be the sign eventually that he's the one who did that, and this was all a sacrifice. But he uses the blocked road to take the melon. They show up. He's supposed to die. Benjamin gets shot. His plan gets destroyed. Morgan finds out. Whoop-de-whoop. So the complexity with Richard is the fact that he's doing some of this bitch shit. He's doing this fake, roadblock scenario, and it's pretty pathetic. But then when you find out why, this is a big scheme. It's a really complex scheme for him to take the melon and then to sacrifice himself. And then he talks about this heartbreaking story with his wife and his daughter and where they were at. And I love the little lines, those little hints of realism that he said, all you hear all the time are babies crying and shit like that. And I can only imagine in that type of situation, that would be something that would stick with him. You know what I mean? That would stick with anybody. And that sounds like a real sound you would hear in one of those camps. So I love that little bit of subtle realism they add there in that heartbreaking story. And then it puts you in his shoes. You're like, oh my God. But you still got Benjamin killed, you dick, So we seen Morgan snap out, which this is something we talked about on this channel before, how a lot of fans are like, oh, Morgan's a bitch. But I've brought this up before about how Morgan's a killer. He lost his shit even before he entered the story again. We knew for a fact from Clear that he was killing people and robbing them. Then we got their flashbacks. Like, fans call Morgan a bitch, but he's like a bitch savage. You know what I mean? He's a bitch to a point, and then he's straight savage. And I love how he shut Richard down. I think that was one hell of a death. And I know some fans, because right now we're on this kick where every time they don't show gore, sometimes I feel like it's problematic. Sometimes I feel like they should be showing the gore because the scene, it's necessary. I don't know if it was necessary for the Richard scene. I think I was fine without it. Just hearing it and seeing the reaction of the people, I think that is all we need. It's a strangulation. It's a head beat. It would have been pretty brutal to see it. I think you can make the argument that it would have been better in a brutal way to see it, because sometimes not seeing it makes it seem like it's not as brutal. What Morgan did, it makes it seem like it wasn't as bad, if you get what I'm saying. But I wouldn't make the argument here with the gore. It's a strangulation. It was vicious. He bashed his head off the ground too. But I think the people's reaction and their disgust in that moment, I think that was good enough. I don't think we needed anything. But what I mean about it connecting to a previous episode, when Daryl and Richard were out setting the trap for Carol, or that was his plan, Daryl tells him, "Why don't you?" when Richard says, "I would die for the kingdom." And Daryl's like, I think that's all he said is, "Why don't you?" And this was his plan. So was this inception on Daryl's part? Daryl gave him the plan to die for the kingdom, to sacrifice himself for the kingdom. He might not have, but I took it as, yeah, in a way. So Morgan loses his shit, and we see some of the flashback, that PTSD, it's flashing back to, and I love how they had a season 1 clip of Dwayne, his son. They show Clear, they show him about to kill himself, they show the cracks. And I really like that aspect because it keeps that character consistent. And that is one argument I want to make for Carol. I don't want her to be Rambo again. I don't want her to be the Terminus Terminator again without some problems there. You need something there, or else it's going to feel like you took her out of the story because you didn't know what else to do with her. You know what I mean? She needs to go through something also. Now, Morgan's going through it as well, and I think that is gangster as shit. He lays down Richard he puts Richard down. Richard wanted to sacrifice himself anyway, so here you go. But he does it so Richard, because look at what Richard did. Richard was all emotional, but then he went right back at it. Richard screwed up, right? Then he went right back at it. oh, you know what, we're going to get them, we're going to plan. Richard would have got someone else killed. That's the way I see this. Morgan is thinking, you know what, he's going to get somebody else killed. I'm putting him down. And then when Morgan went up to Carol and he's like, listen, I'm not doing this shit anymore. You want to know who died? Bada bing, bada boom. And then he just starts walking off. And she's like, where are you going to go? And he's like, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill them all. You know, one after the other, one at a time. I don't know. As I find them, I'm just going to kill them all. That shit was savage. That was straight savage. I love that shit. That beast mode for Morgan. I'm going to try to do my best. I got a lot of stuff going on, prepping for videos that aren't even going to come out for like 3 or 4 months. There's some that I'm like, oh my God, because I'm actually making the audio tracks for them too. So I'm trying my best to do the deep discussion for videos that deserve it. I might do them a little different. Instead of spelling out every single thing, you guys watch the episode. I might do some cool lists in the video and then go in deep for some things that specifically need it. Essentially, I'm going to talk like the Junkyard Gang, like the Heapsters. I'm just going to say, Scene 1, Morgan, badass. Relates to episode 15, badass. No, that's stupid. I don't know. But basically, I'm going to make it without as much fluff as possible. So I'm going to get right to the point in the deep discussion video. So I love this episode. I don't know. I forget everything I just talked about, and I don't know if I'm going to miss anything. And I probably just did 10 minutes, and the video's probably garbage. So let's put it in the editor and see if I can salvage some of this. If it's not, it'll just have a picture of my face plastered in high def, and then you can just watch that, look at that the whole time. It'll be a radio review. I don't know. I'm gonna shut up. Listen, I'm gonna do the prediction video for next week, and then I'll see you guys starting Monday with an update video. And I got a whole bunch of videos piled up that some of you probably don't care about. Those will be coming this week, and hopefully in 2 weeks we'll be back at it with a consistent upload, with a consistent camera quality and microphone once I get this shit figured out. Alright, let me know what you think about this episode. I loved it. I loved it a lot. There are still some complaints with The Walking Dead. However, I'll save that for a different video. Not just with this episode, but there's some things that I feel strongly that I hear the complaints. I hear them. But I feel strongly that even though I might have preferred a different type of Season 7, different story, different structure of the story, what they give us is still good. A lot of it is still good. The structure might be its biggest problem, but what they give us is still good. It might not be the best, you know, but again, this is a bigger discussion because I'm getting a lot of complaints, but we will tackle that in its own separate video. But with that said, I'm done talking. It's your turn.
Subscribe now.